these societies, women have lesser rights to their autonomy, then there's definitely not an alternative, a modification, a secondary path if the cis het normativity don't work for you. If you happen to have been an abused woman, where do you go in a society that says the default is marriage? Your husband takes care of you. We don't have a shelter for you. We don't got a single room occupancy for you. And those societies, heavily religious, heavily patriarchal, they don't consider the alternative, even though they know abuse happens, even though they know domestic violence happens, they're still not going to create an alternative. Because in their minds, if we allow women to leave men, then how will men be able to exert their power over women? If women had the autonomy and have the choice to leave men, they would, because who wants to be a fucking slave?
Really, like, we're working together, everything's great, we're splitting everything down the middle, like, everything is good. It is a very civil divorce. TikToker Jennifer Sheffield was hopeful about her future. Shortly before she and her estranged husband, Brandon Sheffield, were found dead in what police are calling a murder-suicide, the content creator shared a chillingly positive message about their ongoing divorce, with a 30-year-old praising Brandon in a December 10th TikTok. So, about to be a newly single mom, and I am in the middle of a divorce. My husband is being incredible though. Like, really and truly, like, we're working together, everything's great, we're splitting everything down the middle, like, everything is good. It is a very civil divorce with our daughter in mind, and I really appreciate that. However, Jennifer did express concern about her finances now that she was going to be a single mom. However, I'm going to be a mom, single income right now, and he will be helping with her. He will be supporting her, so essentially, like, I'm really thankful for that, and that I will not have to worry so much about supporting her. However, I will be on a very limited income, with buying a new house and, paying a mortgage and all that stuff. And despite the big changes coming to her life, the TikToker seemed hopeful, even asking followers for advice on navigating her next chapter. I've never done this before. I've never been on my own before. So, yeah, if you just have any tips, like, I would really appreciate it, because, like, I'm a little scared right now. Police tell Dark Horse Press now that Jennifer and her husband were found dead in a Brandon, Mississippi home December 28th around 7:19 a.m. after authorities were called to the residence by family members who reported obvious signs of foul play. Brandon Police Chief Joseph French told the outlet that when investigators arrived at the scene, the pair were deceased, with it appearing that Brandon had shot Jennifer before shooting himself. However, officials say the investigation is still ongoing. E! News has reached out to the Brandon Police Department for comment on the case, but hasn't yet heard back.
I haven't done one of these lives in a very long time, so I'm glad to do it. It is a snowy morning. Woke up to some snow, which I knew was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to be this much, and I didn't think it was going to happen this early because the weather app says something different. But Massachusetts wouldn't be Massachusetts if the weather was fucking reliable, like the MBTA. But anywho, we did not come for my shenanigans and my rants. Let's just jump into the topic. The topic for today is Jennifer Sheffield, Toxic, Suffocating Love, Cautionary Tale Case Study. So we are going to be discussing, as the title says, Jennifer Sheffield, who was unfortunately not here with us anymore, a mother, a wife, a whole ass human being who had probably a lot of personality, who probably was the sunshine of the room, probably very kind and empathetic and giving. She had a great personality. People liked her. People miss her. People who met her have nothing but positive things to say about her. And yes, I don't know this lady personally, but for me and my politics, and as a woman, my damn self, I like to give women their humanity. And I know that sounds like, what? It sounds like too much and cap and not enough and like what? So I'm going to break it down. What I mean by that is like, I see women as humans. I do not see women as default mothers, default wives, default roles and placeholders for other people in society. So that is why when it came to Jennifer, I didn't just say mother and wife, because those are defaults and those are expectations for women. And not all women want to have children like me, and not all women want to get married like me. So though I know she was a mother and a wife, that is not her whole sum total of her life, her character, her desires, her abilities. She was more than just a mother and wife. That's what I mean. Um, and she's no longer here with us because let me also read a little blurb that I made for this particular live. So, Jennifer Sheffield filed for divorce from her husband and made a TikTok video about how amicable her husband was about the divorce process and how she was excited to start her new journey as a single mother divorcee. 2 weeks later, same said husband, 2 weeks later, murdered her in a murder suicide, both leaving behind two children, one who is a daughter. So that is what we know. She made a TikTok video. It went kind of viral on the TikTok scene, especially the conversations about women and men and relationships and all of that. In the video, she seemed very happy about her new leg of life. She seemed like she was excited to start her new journey as not only a divorcee, but a mother, a single mother. Like, what does that mean? How does she hold space? Like, what are the things that the husband will need to fill in the gap for? She seemed, honestly, from my point of view, she seemed a little nervous, but I think we would all be nervous if we were in a situation like that. Starting anything new, whether it's a new job, whether it's a new hobby or a new relationship or whatever it is, anything that is new does, give us a little bit of butterflies in our stomach. So you can see that in the video, but more so, you can see that she was excited. And I think for her, and yes, I don't know this woman personally, but from judging from a video, because that's what we all do on social media, she seems like the type of person who is headstrong, but more so like because you've been married, because you play this position as wife, you want your partner to support you, even though you and your relationship with your partner is about to dissolve. And not only because the relationship is about to dissolve, you also have kids. So it's not just like me, a single person. They're like, oh, this shit not working out. Let me go get my shit and dip. I don't need this. When you married and you got kids together, you can't just dip out on someone. Like, you have to not only dissolve the relationship, but if you have children together, like, you got to make sure that there's a routine, that the routine is accepted by both parties, that the children are okay with it. Like, it's baby steps to dissolving a marriage. So it's not, even though the relationship is over for whatever reason, you still want your ex-partner to be on your side. And your side in the sense of like, we're on the same page. We have each other's back. We still are going to raise these kids together. And even though we're not together, I would still hope that we would be friendly. Not only because we share these kids together, but also because we had history together. We lived together. Like, we shared space together. We made a life together. So, like, I don't want you to like hate me or diss me because we're not together anymore. I would hope that we would be mature and adults, that even though we're not together, it's not gonna be no high school shit where you won't behind my back talking about, oh, she all types of hoes and I even fuck with her like that. Like, don't become a toxic incel because we're not together. But of course, the husband chose the default, which is toxic incel. And like the statement said, and the whole TikTok social media scene have discussed that Jennifer's husband ultimately took her out because she filed for divorce. So even though he pretended to be amicable and he pretended to be understanding and he pretended to be on her side, he still shot her because it's patriarchy and you're his property. So let's get into some of the notes and red flags that I picked up from the story that I want to share with other women, especially women who date men. Like, for real, especially women who date men. I'm not going to make this strictly a cishet thing because I know bi women date men. I also know trans women date men. So, like, people in general date men. So, like, not all, but most. Allosexuals, indeed. Um, it's important for you to not get swept up in the script society sets forth for you to know who you are, your boundaries, your acceptance of what you're going to accept in the relationship, and then your cutoff where it's like, this is not it. I don't even know why you thought you could try me on this level. Because like I said, in the discussion when it comes to Jennifer, the whole conversation is, well, she's a mother, she's a wife. And that's why I had to peel it back. And I was like, I need to contextualize her as a human being because you're more than just a wife and a mother. You're more than just the role that you play in society. You're more than the script that you fulfill in the society. But unfortunately, her husband could not see that. And he felt so entitled to her that if he could no longer have her, then she could not have herself to herself. So husband decided to murder suicide after Jennifer filed for divorce. The husband himself was a gun enthusiast. He acted amicable about Jennifer starting the divorce filing just to murder her 2 weeks later, along with himself, leaving behind two children, one who is a daughter. And we talk heavily about women and girls and advocacy and centering girls and D what would you say that? Because I really do feel like patriarchy is corrosion for men. I do feel like it's something that like deteriorates men from the mind. You want to talk about the real mind drain? You want to talk about the real brain disease, the real brain rot? It's patriarchy. It's patriarchy. Like down to wars, down to femicide, down to the ecocide that we are experiencing as climate change. Like all of that is rooted in patriarchy and capitalism. And capitalists, the majority of them are men. So, like, I say all this to say is that to be a motherless child in this world and to know it wasn't because of cancer, it wasn't because even like got hit by a car or like fell ill, it was because your own father took your mother from you. Like, how do you even conceptualize that? How do you conceptualize that as the girl child? And then to go out in the world and do what? To date what? To compare to what? Like if the father is the standard, the daughter is in danger too. If the father is the model, the father is the standard. I want a man like my dad. The girl is in danger too. And even leading up to the murder. What kind of father was he? What kind of husband was he? You can't just your significant other and everything in a relationship prior to that was perfect, the greatest. Like he had to have serious flaws that led up to this grand finale. And now, as the children, but in particular the girl child, you have to process all of this while still being gaslighted by patriarchy. While people are still going to say, your father was a good man. You should forgive him. Yet, all of that. And still having to navigate girlhood. Still having to navigate womanhood. If your mother is the example of womanhood, what example will the daughter follow behind? The example of just be compliant because he might just take you out? Some thoughts. And then for the son, what is the son to think? Like, if I don't get my way, threaten violence? What is the son to think? What is the son to fashion himself after? Is he too a gun enthusiast? Is he too the type to strong arm a girl if he doesn't get his way? We already know Title IX is up the wazoo. We already know them college campuses is predatory central. And I'm not saying that's what the son is or what the son will be. But what I am saying is not every day your parents, that, him and your mother. And also, it's not every day that society makes your living arrangements, your family, a spectacle. That's what I'm saying. Unless you're the Kardashians, then you're just a circus freak in Calabasas. But let's get into some other notes and red flags. The family decided to perform a 2-for-1 funeral. That's the way I see it. A 2-for-1, meaning that the family of the deceased Jennifer and the husband, they decided to hold the funeral for Jennifer and the husband together. So, like, like, like even in death, she does not own herself. She does not get to be the main star, the main character. She does not get to have her own privacy. In her own death, she is mourned alongside her killer. Now, we don't know for what particular reason the family chose to have a 2-for-1 funeral. We don't know. But what I can say is that I think perhaps they decided to have a 2-for-1 because Jennifer still has children. They're minors. So perhaps in the family's mind, they're like, you know what? Though we may not have liked the way things turned out, this is such a tumultuous and emotionally chaotic time. However, Jennifer and the husband were still their parents. They're grieving. They don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. But what we will do is come together as a family. So if that means a 2-for-1 funeral, we're going to do a 2-for-1 funeral. I would hope it's not because they deem Jennifer as still his property. I would hope it's not even because they're cheapening out, where it's like, oh, it'd be expensive to have 2 funerals. So like, let's just do what I would hope that Jennifer would be dignified in her death. I would hope that in her death, Jennifer would still have some compassion. Someone's thinking of her. Someone's thinking of her. Someone is empathizing with her situation and not just seeing it as how do we just do the things, perform the things, and move on. I would hope. But I'm sure when the children's frontal lobe kicks in, and it is up to completion, they'll be sick like the rest of us. I'm pretty sure when those children grow up and they're adults and they're at the point where they are having children or they're thinking about having children, thinking about having families, I'm pretty sure they'll revisit this and see how sick it is that their mother's murderer, who happens to be their father, was also honored and given spotlight and given grace at their mother's funeral, that he was the perpetrator of, like, I'm pretty sure once they get to a fully developed age, they too will be just as sick as the rest of us. Give it time. Jennifer was also from a religious Christian. I'm not sure if it's for real Southern, but from the little TikTok videos and whatnot people were making, it seemed like she was one of those trad wives. It was giving me soft life trad wife, like I obey my husband, God, man, wife, children. I play my role, dutiful wife type of tease. And that's not a knock, because those are great characteristics as a human being. But in patriarchy, in Christo fascist cult Christianity, oh, sweetheart, you were sitting down, girl. You in danger, girl. You in danger. They love obedience. They love obedience. Down to chattel slavery, they love that shit. Like, that servitude made him feel like a god. And if he made you like a god, he can end you like a god, like Satan. So, It seemed like Jennifer was from a Christian Southern, obey your husband type of environment. Allegedly, Jennifer has separated from the husband, but he and the community that they came from, that they lived in, would gaslight her into taking him back, which is very on par with society. And what I mean by that is we saw the same thing with Cardi B. Every time Offset cheated between Culture and Wave, and not the third baby, and no shade, by now the baby has baked in the environments of this earth. I'm not saying Cardi owes us like the name and the details, but like baby number three sounds a little, I don't know, dehumanizing. Maybe not tell us the child's full real name like Nikki does with her child. She says the child's name is Papa Bear, best Papa. Okay, Papa Bear. Cute little nickname. We don't need to really know the details. But baby number three seems so dehumanizing. But that's another conversation for another day. It's very on par for society to gaslight women. And I'm going to tell you in more details in another video that's coming up that's not alive. But like society hates women. That's the default, hating women. And the default is to use women, to have women bend the knee into servitude. So when a man baby traps a woman, or a man quote unquote takes ownership of a woman, marries a woman, makes that woman his, she becomes picked. Society feels as if we have washed our hands of that situation. That's no longer our business. We have no interactions. Y'all are grown now. Y'all figure out your situation. That's between husband and wife. We don't get involved. What happens in the home stays in the home. What happens in the relationship stays in the relationship. Me and my man's and me, we are Siamese twins, bitch. This often is the case in highly religious and patriarchal societies, where they feel as if this is the pathway of life. This is the journey of life. This is the default of life. You follow this script and everything is going to be perfect. So when it isn't perfect, and the person is abusive, and the man is harming the woman, in those type of societies, and it's not just Christianity, you see the same shit in Muslim societies, you see the same shit in patriarchal societies. The society is conditioned to believe that the default is heteronormativity, and the default is men having this oppressive ownership and domination over women. So if he took responsibility of ownership, i.e., marriage and partnership with this woman, whatever he does, he has a free will and agency to do that, because he did it, he owned her the right way. He won her fair and square. He purchased her fair and square, whether it's a dowry or whether it's a marriage. She belongs to him. You have made a home now. Figure that shit out. We don't want to be involved. So what they will do is gaslight you and say, that's your husband. You're not being a good wife. Well, you know, in the religion, you can't divorce. I think it's the Catholics who have that bum shit where you can't divorce a motherfucker. So they will gaslight you into telling you what you need to do to keep him happy. What you need to do to prevent him from blowing up, to prevent him from hitting you. You need to placate to his ego. So now you a second citizen in your own home, because the society at large feels as if it's not their business. And more importantly, not their business. That's what the surface level is. It's not my business. What it really is, the subtext is, the subconscious is, we don't want to engage. We do not want to be responsible for this shit. Or we don't even want to have to dissect our society and question, how did we get here? Like, say for example, if this was a highly, let's say, Muslimized society, let's say it's Dubai, bitch. And let's say you a native person from Dubai, and you realize, oh shit, I'm fucking queer. And it's not like you never knew that shit, but now you're ready to live in that truth. And you're married now. You're promised to marry. You're promised to be handed over to a young man. When we're assuming this young man is cis hetero, this young Muslim man who is waiting to deflower you. And you just realize, oh shit, you're queer, and oh shit, you don't want to take the dick. You think in that society, they'd be like, It's understandable that you don't want to follow the Muslim path, that you don't want to be dutiful to your husband, that you want to have autonomy over your body. Or do you think in those society they're going to tell you, suck it up, buttercup, we got to pray about it, we got to go to the imam about it, we got to see how we can what is the term, sex repulse you, because there's something wrong with you for not following the default path. There's something obscure or deranged or defective about you because you're not doing the things that everybody else can perform. And the ways of ableism. We will not modify our society for you because you need to fit the default. The same thing you see, the same top down, the same oppression, the same contorting women into an idea, contorting women into a product, contorting women into a servitude, to a slave, is the expectation. So if other women in society have to follow this top down default path, they don't empathize with you either. Because their own humanity has been robbed from them. Their own empathy has been robbed from them. How can they relate to you? And even if they are experiencing the same type of violence and the same type of abuse, oftentimes they are willing to do the things, play the role, hush the mouth, obey the husband. And they're not going to rock their situation because you never know how precarious they are, because in those societies, oftentimes women are precarious. I think it was Dubai where women couldn't fucking drive. And granted, I don't fucking drive, but it's by choice I don't drive. And a bitch can't get an Uber. And a bitch can't move around and move and shake and not have to have a man next to her. In Dubai, is that the same? So if in these societies women have lesser rights to their autonomy, then there's definitely not an alternative, a modification, a secondary path if the cis het normativity don't work for you. If you happen to have been an abused woman, where do you go in a society that says the default is marriage? Your husband takes care of you. We don't have a shelter for you. We don't got a single room occupancy for you. And those societies, heavily religious, heavily patriarchal, they don't consider the alternative. Even though they know abuse happens, even though they know domestic violence happens, they're still not going to create an alternative. Because in their mind, if we allow women to leave men, then how will men be able to exert their power over women? If women had the autonomy and had the choice to leave men, they would, because who wants to be a fucking slave? Who wants to just be a breeder on wheels? Who wants to just pop a Vicodin just to get through the fucking day? Who wants to hear mommy on the regular, so much so that you forget your own real ass name, your own real ass government? Who wants to be the default office clerk? You an office clerk with no benefits, no PTO. Hell, not even a retirement. If women truly knew what they were getting into by partnering with men in these societies, and knew that society would gaslight them into staying in these precarious situations, women would second guess having children, down to like millennials and Gen Zers notoriously known for not having children or not having as much children. The baby bust, as they say. Because we're having these conversations, like I am now, about how patriarchy functions. Like I literally cannot tell you enough how happy I am every single day I do not have kids. I cannot tell you how much that is a fucking psychological relief that I do not have children. Down to the fact that I do not want children. I do not physically want to bear anything out of my hoo-ha, period. And see, knowing in this society, we do not have the village that comes in and supports the mother and the household. We do not have a healthy and robust welfare system where women would have maternity and midwife and all these type of services so she can be whole and the baby can be whole and she doesn't have to suffer through postpartum or at least suffer through it alone. We do not live in a society like women will give birth and have less than 6 weeks to get back up and go to work. You're still open. Your wounds are still fresh. You're oozing stuff. And they still expect you to go do the things, perform the role. And on top of that, now knowing, and I've known this for some time, but if I would have had a kid and then known it after the fact, oh, bitch, I'd be upset. Knowing that women, especially women who have children, that's an indicator of poverty. That's an indicator of poverty. Women who have children, mothers are an indicator of poverty. The more children you have, the more likely your economic is precarious. And on top of that, women are paid less than men across the board, no matter the industry. Whether you work in a customer service, you a CNA, or you work in tech. Women oftentimes, still to this day, have to fight for the same dollar a white man's willing to get. So I say all of this to say is that to be gaslit by society on the Cinderella BS mythical perfect cis het wonderful whimsicalness of relationships, and then to get the reality of you might be with a man who's patriarchal and feel as if he owns you. You might be in a situation where you make less money and you can't afford to leave the situation. You might be in a situation where the village that you thought that was going to be there for you, that was going to support you, actually leaves you to fend for yourself. Where you thought that you were going to have the love, you're going to have the respect. You know, in society, allegedly, everybody loves pregnant women. Everybody loves baby. Everybody does this and does that. But when it comes time to show and prove, they're not around. They're not around. They don't care. And in fact, they are infuriated that you had the kid to begin with. We always talk about how in society, we are lacking third spaces. We don't have enough third spaces. But also, we don't want children in those third spaces. We don't even want children in society, to be honest with you. Every time a child is around, we're like, where's your parent? And granted, kids be mad annoying. Hence why I don't have any. But like, we've all been kids. And it's kind of the default for kids to be annoying. Happy kids are kids that are loved on. Kids who are cared for. Loud kids are kids who are happy. And truth be told, kids only have 17 years out of 70, 80 plus years of their lives to be children. It's only such a short amount of time. Let them be kids within reason. They can't be Chucky in these streets. They can't be Freddy Krueger in these streets. They can't be shooters. They can't be demon type in these streets. But within reasonable means, we gotta let children be children. We can't be so jaded by the system that we rob children of their own humanity, of their own childlike behavior. Children are meant to be goofy. They're meant to be annoying. They're meant to be silly because, I mean, honestly, what else were they going to be? A mathematician? They're kids. They're new to this world. They don't know the social order. And then on top of that, their brains aren't fully developed. Their bodies are growing. So, like, of course they're going to do annoying ass shit because that's what kids do. But back to the topic at hand. Society will gaslight women into staying in these toxic relationships because society does not want to be amicable to the needs of women, modify for the needs of women. Because if women actually get the respect and love and care that they deserve, then women wouldn't be the servants of society. Women wouldn't carry the brunt of parenthood, poverty, trauma, and even deaths, femicide. Men are more likely to take each other out. Men are more likely to take each other out than women are to take men out. And men are more likely to take women out than women are to take other women out. It's always the bear because men are more dangerous. And not for nothing, a bear is just gonna do bear shit. It is a bear. It's just gonna do bear shit. And it might be a couple of humans who get hit who get hit along the way, but they're not checking for humans. Because that's not who they care for. That's not their main target base. You was in the way. Grizzly got had to get grizzly. But it's no hard feelings because Grizzly is an animal. But that husband of yours was supposed to be your husband and not a fucking beast. A premeditated beast at that. A calculating beast at that. A beast with a lethal weapon at that. But it's the bear, they say, that we should be fearful of. So this time, it seems like Jennifer meant what she meant and said what she said when she decided to finally file the last time for divorce from her cishet patriarchal husband, which he responded 2 weeks later with a murder-suicide leaving 2 children. The most dangerous time for a woman in a relationship is when she decides to leave the relationship. And this is for women across the board, whether it's pregnant women or whether it's single women. The most dangerous time for a woman in a relationship is when she decides to leave. Because again, in patriarchy, women do not belong to themselves. They are objects. They are servants. They are the original worker. They are things to be used and discarded at will. So when you say time out, it's not working out, I call it quits, in their mind, oh, I wasn't through with you. You owe me a lot more sex. You owe me a lot more favors. You owe me a lot more financial support. You owe me. I own you. You belong to me. So when you call it quits, not only are they offended, but now they want to get vengeance. Because to them, it's you still belong to them. You still have to answer to them. And how dare you think that you could leave, you could escape, you can be more than just his servant. That you could decide for yourself how you want to live for yourself. How dare you decide to live life without him? Like, let's be clear, if he was functional and secure and was able to do the adulting things by himself, he wouldn't have to press you, he wouldn't have to abuse you, he wouldn't have to minimize you.
High functioning men.
Oftentimes, these abusers are shitty in life skills, shitty as humans.
Low functioning men.
So the person that they are abusing, they're also using them as the legwork to be a better human being, to do the things to perform the role. The spouse is shitty. The spouse that's getting abused oftentimes is the light of the room. Oftentimes is doing the extra people person, personality, empathizing, loving, caring on overdrive because they lack it in their relationship. So they're performing it for greater society in hopes that greater society can feed the love and the esteem and the care that the abuser isn't. The abuser is stoic, the abuser is cold, but oftentimes the abusee, the abused, is the one who's full of love and full of personality to make up for what they are lacking in the relationship. This is why we tell young women in those boyfriend, girlfriend, on and off, hot and cold type of relationships to break up and mean it, stand on it with him in public, heavy on the public, because in private, especially at his home, can be a deadly affair. We tell women on social media all the time, do not go to his house, his place to break up with him. Don't even go to his friend's place or his family place to break up with him. If you're going to break up with him, you break up with him in public. Whether it's at a restaurant, whether at the subway station, whatever the case may be, it is in public. Because what tends to happen is, even though we live in sketchy ass settler colony USA, where they always do mass shootings every day, but more times than not, people know how to quote unquote act in public. Only children get the grace of having tantrums and emotional meltdowns in public. Children and white girls, children and Karens. But for the most part, the rest of us, we don't have the luxury of acting a plumb fool in public. On top of that, most people would not give a fuck. People don't know how to act in response to emotional chaos from an adult. That's why most times than not, people call the police and the police do police brutality. And that's on Jordan Neely. Most times than not, people don't know how to interact, how to de-escalate emotionally charged situations, so they just call the police so the police can just do the deed, do the dirt that they can't do as a civilian, that the badge allows the police to do as a cop. But we're not going stray too far from the original topic, but I just wanted to outline that. So when women are saying like, this is not going to work out, this relationship not going to work out, I want out, we tell them to do it in public, because even if this person wants to act a plumb fool, because they're in social settings, the social cue, the social norm, and not to bring attention and eyeballs to the situation, he has to act like he's happy, he's amicable. Because what do you look like popping off at a Starbucks in front of all these tech bros right across the street from the police? He not. Even if he's plumb pissed, he's gonna smirk that smile with curls at the ends of his lips, knowing that he's pissed, knowing that he's mad, but he gonna have to keep it polite, he gonna have to keep it cute, he gonna have to keep it demure, because as a man raging in society, that's the first one the police is gonna press. Especially again, we live in a mass murder society, a mass, society. Folks are not going to take kindly, and folks are not going to give grace to somebody who is emotionally charged, especially that somebody's a man emotionally charged in public. We've seen too many shootings for us to be like, oh, it might just be a bad day. No, they're going to call the police. They're going to see the exit sign and skate through that, because we already know what type of time a man who is mad is, because that oftentimes is dangerous for everybody involved, everybody in the vicinity. Okay? Who you marry isn't who you divorce. Who you marry isn't who you divorce. Who you marry isn't who you divorce. This is why it's advised to have a prenup or a marriage agreement that details the agreed upon terms of what happens when and if the marriage dissolves. It's key to have these things in place, especially as a woman who is dating, who is not only just dating men, cishet men in particular, but also plans to merge your lives together, plan to become one, plan to unionize this thing, plan to get that marriage certificate together. It's important while y'all love each other and the sparks are flying and the butterflies in the stomach and I can't see myself without you and you're my lover for life, all that good shit. Okay, cool. In that moment is when you write the prenup. In that moment is when you write, like, if this marriage dissolves. Of course it will never, because we love each other. But if it does, this is what we're feeling to do. This is what we agree that we're going to do. Like, in the moment that everything is love, we are agreeing. This is the agreed upon terms and rules and regulations to this love if the love turns sour. Because why? Because in that moment, that person, that other person, whether you're the woman or you're the man or you're the partner, you're good. You don't foresee what the future has in store. But it's the partner who you not so sure is good too. Because it's okay to say, I'm good now. Like, oh, I'm good. I don't want the relationship to end. I would never be bitter. I would never be mean. I would never be evil. I would never cut you out. I would never take the home. I would never run you through bankruptcy. I would never come for your money. I would never come for your retirement. I would never come for your assets. It's good to say that now when lovey-dovey, kiss. It's good to say that shit now. But 5 years into the relationship, 10 years into the relationship, marital affairs, financial mishaps, children, contempt, resentment, unfulfilled goals and dreams come come into the play, now it's a little different. Now the love ain't as strong and new and pure and it can conquer all. Now it's a little tattered. And the feelings might not be the same, but the agreement still is. So that is why it's important if you're going to do the whole we together, we married, we partners. This is why it's important that while y'all still love each other and all things are gravy, that you put into place, this is what can happen if we do this, decide to dissolve the relationship. Because 50% of marriages in America, in particular the United States, I don't know about Canada and Mexico, end in divorces. So having that terms of agreement already in motion only covers your ass financially, asset equity, and emotionally. Because oftentimes after, the relationship has endured and there was some dirt and there was some hurt, that's when people want to become malicious, want to become entitled, want to hurt, want to become treacherous because of all that has happened and transpired. So, again, this is why it's important to have those terms of agreements already in place, because it would be hard as hell after all the hurt and betrayal to now be like, let's separate amicably and let's, split everything 50-50. Especially the worst scenarios when you are the victim and this motherfucker still wants to fucking devour you. They hurt you. They did you greasy, but like an offset, they want to take you for everything you got. Bitch. Now that would have me on 1, 2, and 3, bitch. And I'm a Taurus. That might be a death sentence for you, sweetheart. Christian fascist Abrahamic religion hates women as the main theme and as like the main plot line that they hate women. And I'm not saying other non-Abrahamic religions aren't sexist and aren't, hating towards women. I know there's been conversations about Hinduism and how Hinduism treats women and how a lot of these religions are very chauvinistic, very male centered, down to their gods and their prophets and whatnot. So, like, I'm not saying it's just the Abrahamic. You go somewhere else and they're going to be all types of equity for women. Like, no. But it's easier to center Abrahamic religions because of all the war and chattel slavery and rape and disease and pillaging and ecocide that they have actively continued to participate in, down to the Catholic Church and their pedo rings. But also most human beings identify with one of those three religions. Most human beings are either Christians, former Christians, did the Christian thing, or did the same thing in Judaism. Is a Jew, was a Jew, former Jew, was Muslim, is Muslim, has Muslim friends and family. Like, that's what I'm saying. Most folks are either one of those big threes. So that's why it's easier to use Abrahamic religions as the case study and as the focal point. From Genesis, Eve, to Jezebel's fall, to Lot's daughter turned into stone, and Nephilims, the offsprings of alien hybrid humanoids bred in the womb of human women. The most vile, cruel, humankind crimes happened under the guise of religion, especially the Abrahamic religions. Christianity was used as justification for chattel slavery, like Judaism, specifically Zionism, is justified for the genocide of Palestinians. The UAE are committing genocide, ethnic cleansing, hate crimes, labor exploitation, etc., all throughout Northern Africa and Sudan, South Sudan, Congo, and just about any Muslimized African country. If religion is the opiate of the masses, then what is the Abrahamic religions? The meth of myth making. Why is it their followers are all bigots? Some bigots who voted for Trump 3 times, and it took Elon Musk on the 3rd time for them to realize that they've been screwed, no Vaseline, with a bloated booty hole. These religions are as toxic as their leaders, Jim Jones, no Dipset, who almost always are cis het men. Jim Jones, no Dipset. And if you don't know that reference, Jim Jones was a cult leader who, side note, him and this cracker bastard who helped genocide black folks in New Guinea, I believe. He had a whole Christian cult preaching the word, getting black folks to follow his cracker ideology. They done moved and had a fucking cult convine in New Guinea, and then he had them all murder suicide themselves in the ways of, like, this is why we say the reference, don't drink the Kool-Aid, because he spiked the Kool-Aid with some type of substance and his followers took it and then they perished. And the rest of the followers were met by gunfire, just like Jennifer Sheffield. So it's not bitter, it's not hater, it really is peep gang, bitch. Patriarchy is evil. It's just like the Abrahamic religions, but like, y'all not ready for this type of truth. Y'all not ready for this type of truth. And I hope y'all, when y'all do become ready, it's not at the expense of your whole fucking life or the lives of people that you fucking actually care about. Following some type of myth-making default blueprint given to you by the ops, created to you by class agents who exploit and torture the world for their own desires, wealth, and pleasure. But y'all don't hear me though. There's a reason why their criteria is God, man, woman, and child. And who is God? Not another man, no face. Man follows man and obeys man just to subjugate, hate, prey, dominate, oppress, and abandon woman. After she is no longer useful or no longer serves him anymore. Men feel entitled to women like marriage, which is human ownership. Legitimately so, down to the father's paternity was and is still often the metric of generational wealth. The whole soft life trad wife gaze is shaped from the ownership of women and the roles that they play. The transactional nature of marriage and the so-called men's innate biological gender role of providing, producing, and protecting allows him to have the ownership of said woman, which is transactional, and therefore, because he owns her, her return for being picked is to perform the roles such as the maid, the servant, the breeder, the coach, confidant, the everything that he needs, the wife appliance, to keep it short. He gets in return an adult servant he gets to lord over and receive free sex, food, labor, maid services, admin help, therapy coaching, business advising, emotional regulation, etc., etc., etc. The more she stifles and minimizes herself for himself, she literally data proven to give her life force to him, adding more years to his life while taking years and time away from her own life. Married men and single women are the happiest demographic. The fact that married men and single women are the happiest demographic is so fucking fetch in the way of like, this is so fucking on brand. But also, like, why are we surprised? Married men have it made. Down to like, married men get paid more than single men. Married men have the best reputations in society. They have the best marketing agenda. They have the best marketing team. Like, married men get all these default projections of like, since he's married, he's probably a great husband, a great father. He probably, takes care of the household. Once you say you married, people just perceive that you're just such an awesome person just because you're married. Just because you're married. People take you more seriously. People think you're more mature just because you're married. As a man married. So of course you would have lived longer when you have all these things taken care of for yourself. You don't have to plan out your life. You don't have to even call for your own appointments. You don't even have to wipe your own ass. You don't have to clean your own laundry. You don't have to cook your own food. Like, you're an overgrown child. So of course you'd be happy. Mommy's taking care of everything. Fuckable mommy's taking care of everything. Of course. Of course. And it's free. Yes. And you get to hit, of course. Life's made. And of course, as a single woman, you don't have to do none of that shit. All that shit you doing, that the married women, the picked women are doing for the man, you doing that shit for yourself. You don't got to deal with nobody gaslighting you. You don't got to deal with the fact that nobody's coming into your home late, so you don't have to worry about if the late partner is cheating. You don't have to worry about somebody making your life uneasy or taking advantage of you like a homosexual. You don't have to worry about someone coming and taking your money or taking the things out of your home, whether it's physical things, whether it's peace of mind, whether it's food, whatever the case may be. You don't have to worry about someone you eventually might fall out of love with, but you split bills together, so you can't afford not to leave them. Like, these are things that are not your concern. You listen to your friends or your TikTok stories that women are going through, and you literally cannot relate. You literally cannot relate. Down to, like, most women's conversations with other women is involving some man. A man that they're currently dealing with, a man that they used to deal with, a man that they want to deal with. And you can't relate because, like, you're just enjoying your life. Your life does not revolve around man. The penile isn't what you worship. So, like, there's things that maybe the other women in your life put up with, you don't put up with. In ways of, like, cheating, in ways of, like, emotional abuse, in ways of Reddit threads of, am I the asshole? My boyfriend said that I was fat and ugly and I should be grateful to be with him. I'm only a size 6. Am I the asshole that I told him that he hurt my feelings? Like, yeah. It really be that goofy of titles. And I don't want to sound like pompous or rude or like dismissive. But it's crazy that y'all be in whole ass relationships with people that you love, that you live together with. And you have to go on the internet and ask strangers on the internet that you ain't ever gonna know, you ain't ever met. Like, you don't even know their real names. Their screen name is user12385. And you gotta ask that person and ask them, like, am I crazy for, like, exerting my own humanity? Am I the bad guy for having boundaries? I know that sounds absurd and may sound funny to some folks, but that is so fucking heartbreaking. That you don't know yourself, that you have to ask a stranger. Like, you have been so detached from your own personhood, your own humanity, that you have to ask random people on the internet if you matter, your humanity matter, your agency matter. Then the person that you're with, this person is supposed to be the one who's supposed to gas you up, have your back, be your biggest cheerleader. But they're the ops, and you gotta ask strangers on the internet if the ops that you love is really the ops. That shit is heartbreaking. So yeah, single women, happiest demographic out of all women. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. As a single woman myself, I must agree. Yeah, pretty happy. Yeah. You need to recognize when your community is the op and plan your escape plan. And that's on period. Exclamation point. Drop clues bombs on that one. It's called an escape plan for a reason, not a group exercise. And what I mean by that is, if you're planning an escape plan because it really is that precarious, dangerous, like, you gotta go, don't tell nobody. Don't tell him in particular. Don't tell your friends. Don't tell your mammy. Don't tell nobody who has known this person and who has some type of relationship with this person. You might say, why? Simple. You keep your plans to yourself. The same community that loves you too as a couple will be the same community that will betray your agency to force you to perform the role of partner to an abuser. insert like clips from The Handmaid's Tale where the women would betray the other women, whether it's Serena betraying June, or I want to call her Agatha, but that's not her name. She looked like an Agatha, but that's not her name. But the one who gets all the girls together, the one who was in charge of all the girls, Aunt Lydia ass bitches. They will send you to the fucking gulag, bitch. The Aunt Lydia type of bitches will send you back to that abuse dungeon, bitch. Like, you can't tell none of them, because again, they know that abuser as one way. They have one perception of him. And if they are really glued to the idea of cis het normativity, ametanormativity, which means that we are all destined to be partners, that we all have a soulmate, that we all have a significant other, that we need to find our better half. If they are one of those people who believe in that and fashion their lives and their whole ideology behind that, you cannot tell those people that you are separating, that you are choosing yourself. If they believe in compulsory sexuality, that you owe it to your husband to put out, that you owe it to your husband, that your body belongs to him, that God said, the Bible said, you cannot tell these people that you are leaving. I don't give a damn if these people are your mother, your sister, your friend that you've known since kindergarten. You cannot tell these people this. Because in their mind, especially if they quote unquote have a perfect relationship, or what they perceive as a perfect relationship. Because when y'all go to TikTok to be like, this is my man, we together, TikTok always be like, and they always got to second guess their relationship. Down to the girl who popped up and surprised her boyfriend on New Year's Eve, and that motherfucker turned around like, oh. TikTok always let y'all know when your relationships be staying. But in these type of DV type of relationships, these people are not going to let you be single. They're not going to let you have peace, because they want you to be in that relationship. They want you to be with that person. And I say this even when she herself is being abused. The person that you confide in, the person that you're like, oh, I'm about to leave this man because this man's evil to me, this man's harming me, like, I got to go. Even if she can relate to the same abuse that you're talking about, that you're facing, or he, doesn't really matter, they most likely than not are not going to say, oh yeah, I agree with you. You should do the escape plan, or we should escape together. Because that person may, I'm not going to say be comfortable in abuse, because that's wild, but they might be the type of person who are not ready to go. They're not ready to let go. They're not ready to cut ties for whatever reason. Just like when we told Cardi, while she was pregnant with Culture, leave that man alone, she was telling us, mind our business. That's her husband, not her boyfriend. And now she 3 babies now, and she arguing and crashing out over the same husband, not a baby's father, not a boyfriend, but a husband that we all told her baby 1 ago, even before the first baby, to leave.
I was going to go to LA, and motherfuckers called me talking about it's an emergency. I gotta go to Atlanta because Offset fainted and shit. And I'm just like, oh my God, what is going on? And look what I got here. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm not really gonna have to learn how to drive. Well, I'm happy. I'm just so happy and thankful. I love you. Y'all don't even know how I feel, y'all, because I've been praying for the last 2 hours to every goddamn religion that there is. Like, God, I hope this nigga's okay. Why nobody answering my calls, acting funny? I don't want to raise my baby by myself. I don't want to raise my baby by myself. I don't want to raise my baby by myself. Jesus Christ, I hope everything is okay. So happy, babe. I love you.
Love you too.
I don't even know.
Culture ready. Culture ready.
say that the same people who are gaslighting you, telling you, take him back, Cardi, he's sorry, oh, all these grand gestures, and she's still in the same raggedy ass situation, 3 babies down, and doing Shein commercials and ads on Instagram. It's coming full circle. She started on Instagram, and now she back on Instagram. It's full circle, bitch. Full circle. They know accept only one version of him. You sharing a different version and planning to escape from that version shatters their beliefs and projections of what they think your relationship is or should be. They're more willing to play bootleg Groupon TikTok therapist to, quote, keep you two together, quote, than grant you your autonomy and be an accomplice with executing your escape plan. So they're more likely to be like, oh no, girl, we gonna work this thing out. I saw on TikTok that all you need to do to keep your man to make your man stop being mad at you so your man cannot hit you, what we gonna do together. No, 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 you don't gotta leave him. You just gotta, you gotta be a strong woman. You gotta hold him down. Like, no, 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 that's not even what a queen does. They the ops, man. They the whole fucking ops. Don't assume an abused woman will have your back. Even Harriet Tubman's husband threatened to snitch on her if she truly did escape enslavement on the plantation to run north to freedom, which she ultimately did. But that is a true fact of history that Harriet Tubman's husband threatened Harriet and was like, look, if you fuck around and leave this plantation, you on some underground railroad shit, I will snitch on you before you even have the opportunity to leave here. Meanwhile, he's abused. He in captivity too, bitch. He a slave too, bitch. But he not ready to leave. And how dare you, as the woman, his property, he's underneath the god of the plantation owner, and you, as the woman, are underneath his authority, pseudo authority, because again, he's a slave on a plantation. But if it is man, woman, child, then he as a man is underneath a man, but you are underneath him, your husband, and him, the plantation owner. Double the oppression, double the patriarchy.
Hence why it is safe to say and safe to bet that when you are planning your escape plan, mum is the word. Move in silence.
Men socialized in patriarchy are possessive, entitled, and calculating. They feel their best when they control everything and everyone, especially what they deem as their possession. We talked about this several times earlier in this video. Their possession includes material and immaterial things from cars, property, plural properties, and jewelry to spouses, children, and pets who are immaterial. Cue Offset commenting in Cardi B's live on Instagram, quote, you my BM, I won, quote. The same provider man that was supposed to save the day will be the villain when he thinks you're changing the script. That you don't want to play a background character, yet caretaker lesser role in your relationship. That you two want equity, respect in your relationship like a man. When the servitude stops, so does his grace and love that was always dependent on the role of servitude that you played as the woman, his woman. The love was as strong as his desire to control and rule over you. If I can't have you, no one else can was a person, it would be Jennifer's husband, who even as he blew her body into smithereens after seeing her beg for mercy in distress, soaked himself in her blood with his own stew of bloody misery. So now, even when death brings them apart, as the vows say, till death brings you part, it surely cannot for Jennifer in Jennifer's story. Truly a yuck situation. Not even the best scientists can separate two bodily fragmented parts entangled in the same pile of domination and death as roadkill, equally as deflated and lifeless. The same provider man, producing, providing, protecting, was the same man who hunted her down. See, the husband didn't want Jennifer to have peace. He felt so entitled to her that even in death, Jennifer wasn't allowed to be free, robbed of the main character in her own victimization story, overshadowed by her husband, the man, the head of household, that cornered Jennifer to the end of the gun. Let this be a cautionary tale. Just because he was performing acts of love in the beginning doesn't mean he won't perform acts of contemptuous, possessive vengeance when the relationship comes to an end, especially as a woman and or queer and or femme dating in cishet, Christo-fascist, capitalist, patriarchal society. So those were my notes and some of the red flags that I wanted to discuss with y'all this Saturday morning. The video's a little long. I thought we were going to keep it to 30 minutes, but when I get to talking, I get to talking. But hopefully this video was informative. I saw folks coming in and out of the live. But I hope this video and this message is informative to you and informative to the people in your lives. I mean, you can not solely look at it from a Jennifer point of view or a Wharton point of view. Anybody could have been victimized. Trans women are often victimized more and are murdered more than even cishet women. So, like, women across the board are being femicide. But it's not just women. Like I said, men are the violent ones of society. Like, men are the dangerous ones. Like, it is you. Like, also Taylor Swift shit. It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. Like, I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah, it's you. Like, you're the villain. Like, yeah. And it don't really matter who it is. Like, men tend to be the aggressor, tend to be the perpetrator when it comes to the violent crimes, when it comes to the pow pow. It, like, yeah. So, as a society, how do we respond to that type of level of aggression and violence? But again, because we live in these Christo-fascist religions, these Abrahamic patriarchal societies, they don't have a default. If man is the God of the humans, and the default is to partner with the gods, then why would there be
An alternative.
why would there need to be
An alternative.
so femicide increases? That's what I have for y'all for today. It's not the most cheery of videos, but it is certainly informative. If this can save a life, if this could help people realize the truth and not the fable, if this can help folks really analyze, their escape plan or help other people or just start the conversation or continue the conversation on women's autonomy, women's rights, or the rights that are slowly going to be peeled back from the Trump administration that's coming in for the third time, because the same white women who are being victimized by their husbands are the same white women who vote for Trump. So you are the own Aunt Lydia's of your own fucking. You are the victim and the perpetrator of your own. Not even the perpetrator. You're the victim and the accomplice. The accomplice in your own story. And this is not saying particularly for Jennifer. This is not me sneak dissing or saying this is Jennifer's story. I don't know who she voted for. But the point I'm saying is that women tend to play this role in their lives, in their own relationships. So when are we as a society going to say this is not acceptable? And when are we as women going to say we need an alternative? Whether you cis, whether you are hetero, whether you are anything other than the quote unquote default. what is the modification? What is the alternative? So you can still have a healthy and happy, fulfilling life like a single woman, like a married man. But that's all I have for this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm gonna have this live up for like 24 hours, and then I'm going to take it down so I can do some editing and then premiere it for the next video drop, which happens to be Tuesdays at 6 p.m. So subscribe, like, follow me on the socials. It's Black Woman Vibes everywhere. Woman as in singular. Check out the description box for all the extra added context and information. Also, check out past videos on the YouTube channel. There's a variety of content, but it's always focused on women, women needs, women's realities, women's plight, but also women's successes, women's happiness, and just centering women in general. Because that's my priority. Not decentering men, but centering women. Like, duh. The sapphic in me, like, duh. The queer platonic in me, like, duh. And that's all I got. Yeah, that's I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Self-made, asexual, and I'm always on point like a decimal.
La reine te la fe mwen, nèg yo son dirijon mwen nan gran chimen.